Esta es Uniminuto Radio, HJKU, en Bogotá en los 14:30 AM y en Colombia y el mundo a través de uniminutoradio.com.co. También en Facebook, Twitter e Instagram a través de @Uniminuto Radio. La radio universitaria está aquí.
Estamos a punto de despegar al mundo de las letras, los sonidos, la danza y la expresión corporal. Estamos iniciando un viaje al mundo de la imaginación y de las artes. Despegamos al mundo de Parlaarte. Personajes, saberes, prácticas, conexiones, entramados, pedagogías y creatividad en El Narratorio, un espacio para el diálogo desde los lenguajes en educación. Reciban un cordial saludo en esta nueva transmisión de Parlaarte y de El Narratorio, el especial que siempre estamos realizando aquí a partir del día de hoy con nuestros queridos compañeros Rubén Gómez y Lisette González, quienes nos están acompañando ya desde hace un tiempito en la producción de una serie de programas en 2 idiomas. Estamos hablando de inglés y portugués y vamos a hablar de cultura anglosajona y de cultura portuguesa. Entonces, hoy estamos iniciando con una historia bien chévere. Ellos van a empezar a trabajar desde la historia de Guns N' Roses. Entonces, the history behind Guns N' Roses is the problem of this day, ¿ok? Para quienes son expertos en inglés saben que lo que estoy pronunciando está requete mal, mi inglés es pésimo, pero no interesa. Aquí estamos y vamos a hacer el ejercicio de aprender con ellos que nos van a enseñar con esta grata experiencia que nos traen el día de hoy. Entonces, sin más preámbulos, vamos a darle la bienvenida a nuestros compañeros Lisette González. Muy buenos días, muy buenas tardes, muy buenas noches para quienes nos ven en vivo y en directo, para quienes nos ven en las retransmisiones y en los podcasts. ¿Cómo estás, Lisette?
Buenos días, ¿cómo están todos? Realmente me encuentro muy alegre de estar aquí. Espero que pues podamos compartir y aprender mucho acerca de este programa que tenemos preparados para todos ustedes.
Bien, muchísimas gracias, Lisette. Y también se encuentra aquí a entrar en el estudio Rubén Gómez.
Muy
¿Cómo te
buenos
encuentras,
días a
Rubén?
todos. Muy bien, gracias. Muy feliz de estar aquí nuevamente en esta sección de Mayor Lenguas. Y como tú ya lo mencionaste, el día de hoy vamos a hablar un poco de rock y pues va a ser en inglés, como ya lo hemos mencionado antes. Vamos a llevar un programa en inglés y otro en portugués.
Perfecto. Y pues empezando con el tema, ¿no? Obviamente como lo van a hacer en inglés, entonces aquí yo ya les voy a ceder la palabra porque ustedes son los expertos en el tema. Entonces, we're going to work and speak in English only in this program. Is correct?
Yes, you're right. We are going to we are going to speak in English because the idea of these programs is to speak totally in the focus language in order to improve, basically.
Okay. Okay. And what is the history to the work today?
Okay, so today we are going to talk about rock, but the main idea is to talk about Guns N' Roses, the history behind Guns N' Roses. We know that this band had many different aspects during by passing the years. So we are going to talk about one album because they had many different albums. So we are going to talk about the Use Your Illusion album that was released in September in the 90s, basically. So we are going to talk about this album during this session and some interesting aspects about this album, of course.
Okay, very, very big. The information of this band, okay, the rock band is very important. Lisette, why wasn't Guns N' Roses and not other group?
Because they have interesting stories in all the songs because not is just a song and that's it. The idea is that they have a story. For example, a love story or a horror story. So for that reason, it's interesting to know what are where are the inspiration for doing those stories, those songs, and those stories.
Okay, okay, okay. Well, uh, now all the problem is to you. You uh, represent the principals persons of this space. Okay, it's only you. This space. Come on here. We are in your hands.
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about the history behind of Guns N' Roses. So for this, okay, for those ones who are watching us via YouTube, we have a visual, some visual support to help you guide what we are going to do. Okay, so as you know, we are going to talk about the history behind Guns N' Roses. First of all, it's important to note that there are many different members of the band. However, we are going to talk about the main ones, the ones who are really important. So the idea is to talk about them, basically that. So let's move on. So as I mentioned before, we are going to talk about the Use Your Illusion album. This album was released on September 17 in the 1991. So we are going to be talking about this album, okay? So basically, we are going to mention many different aspects, who released that song, why this song is really important, and some other things. So let's start talking about the most important members of the band. Let's talk about Axel Rose. Axel Rose is the vocalist of the band, is the one who guides every song, is the main vocal in every song. Also, we had Izzy Stradlin. Izzy Stradlin is one of the guitarists. Is a good one. He is the one who composed many different tracks in and also many different parts of the songs. Also, we have Slash, that is another guitarist, and finally we have DC Reed, that is the pianist. It's important to clarify that there are many other members of the band, but these ones are the most important ones. So, Lisette, what do you think about Guns N' Roses?
Eh, I need to confess that I'm not really a fan of those integrants and also of the songs because they have really interesting lyrics. So for me, it's really important because sometimes I enjoy listening the songs. So for me, they are really fantastic. And what about you? You did you find interesting those songs?
Uh, Actually, I do, because every song has something to know, something to tell, something different. It's not a song, you know. There is a history behind how they composed that song and what made that song remarkable for many of the fans that enjoyed listening to Guns N' Roses. Okay, please, Lisette, tell me a little bit about Axel Roast.
Okay, so we can say that Axel Rose is really important. is in the band because he's the vocalist, the main vocalist. So he's an American singer and songwriter. He wants to say that he writes the songs inspired by different situations that he or some of the people of the band lives at that moment. He is the greatest singer of all the time because his voice is really, really amazing. I found that his voice is beautiful and it sounds good. So for that reason, he's the greatest singer in the world. I can say that. And also, he something that caught my attention that was curious was that is not the founder; he's the co-founder of Guns N' Roses. So he was not alone. He was with other person that founded Guns N' Roses, and also is a praised, but at the same time is controversial figure because he also has a good voice, but he had some problems with all the integrants in the band. So for that reason, he is a controversial. He had some problems for that reason. That is the problem that he had.
Okay, thank you so much, Lisette. To this point, we have to clarify that we are not using the official pictures, the official ones. We are using pictures generated by AI. So for that reason, probably you are going to find quite interesting or quite weird the way in which we are representing every of the band members. Okay. So now let's talk about Izzy Stradlin. Izzy Stradlin is a American guitarist and songwriter. Also, he is known as Jeffrey Isbell, and in the band he had played drums and bass. And basically, he founded Guns N' Roses. Many people could believe that Axl Rose was the one who founded Guns N' Roses. I got a question for you, Lisa. Did you know that Izzy Stradlin was the one who founded Guns N' Roses?
No, at the beginning I was thinking that was Axel Rose, but after looking for information in the internet, surfing in the internet, I found that was the founder was Izzy Stradlin, and that was interesting because Axel Rose is the main character in the band, so that is really curious.
Yes, you're right. So continue with Izzy Stradlin. Izzy Stradlin was one of that made the band famous because his contributions. However, Izzy Stradlin and also the whole band, they had problems with addictions. They were struggling with that. So drugs and also alcohol were some barriers that they had in the path. So the majority of the time, uh, they had many different problems about drugs and alcohol. Lisa, do you know any history according to these problems they had?
Yes, I can say that the AC Australiano was the only one that had problems with that additions. Also, we can say that the major of the integrants had that problem. So for that reason, he was retired from the band because he was also having problems at the moment to write songs to be concentrated in the band because he was interested in other things apart from that.
Okay, so now let's continue talking about Slash. Lisette, could you please tell me something important about Slash? What do you know?
Yes, of
Who
course.
is he?
The Slash is really important because he's a good guitarist. He's a British an American musician, but the problem is that he had problems with Axl Rose. So After that, I'm going to say what were the problems. But first, it is important that he was not only with Guns N' Roses, he created a band called Velvet Revolver. It was after being in Guns N' Roses, and he had also problems with drug addictions and also with alcohol. And he had those problems. After that, we can say that he wrote songs like Sweet Child, or Welcome to the Jungle and Paradise City. But something that is curious, do you know who is Michael Jackson, Ruben?
Actually, yes. He is really famous. He's the king of pop, basically.
Yes, basically he's the king of fun. And he Slash was with Michael Jackson in some songs, doing solos with the guitar, but he had, we can say, a problem with Michael Jackson during a concert. Do you know what was the problem?
Actually, I don't. But who had the problem? Slash with Michael Jackson?
Slash with Michael Jackson
Okay.
had the
What the
problem.
problem was? Could you tell me what the problem was?
Exactly, was in a concert uh, during a song, Black and White. So the idea that was that Slash was doing a solo, and he had center time minutes, we can say, for doing the solo, but he overdo that solo, and it was a problem because Michael was trying to sing, but Slash didn't want to. So it was a problem, called the security, and was a scandal. For that reason, and I returned my idea with Axel Rose. Axel Rose was angry with that situation. For that reason, they had problems.
Okay, Lisa, do you know if Michael Jackson was an Axl Rose friend?
No, I don't have idea. Maybe they have a contact. You know, they are famous. In a
Ah, yeah.
certain time, they have to talk about each other.
Oh, yes, you're right. So basically, Axl Rose was angry with Slash to feature with Michael Jackson, or because of the problem he generated in that concert.
Was that and also other problems related to the
Ah,
exactly related to the drugs problems and all of those situations. Yes,
okay.
of
Thank you so
course.
much. Thank you so much, Lisette. So also, we need to talk about DC Reed. So DC Reed, also until nowadays, he is the current keyboardist, basically the ones who is in charge to play the piano. He started to be in the band since 1990 until nowadays. So basically, he had a good relationship with Axel, but basically uh, he started to become a trustworthy person in the album that is called Use Your Illusion. Basically, in this album is where we can find DC Reed developing all the collaborations he had made until nowadays in the Guns N' Roses band. So now we are going to talk about the story behind some of their songs, but remember that we are focused on the User Illusion album. And remember that the User Illusion album has two parts. So we have Use Your Illusion Album 1 and Use Your Illusion Album 2. But we are just going to talk about some songs about the first album. So here we have Right Next Door, but we have some sounds here.
Very good. But excuse me, Mr. Ruben, I
Yeah,
have a question to you. Do you know
yes,
what
tell me.
the last Guns N' Roses concert was in Colombia? No?
Could you please repeat that question, Hector?
Do you know when the last Guns N' Roses concert was in Colombia?
Uh, well, actually, I don't know. Do you?
No? Okay, I have this tip. In 1316, Guns N' Roses returning to Colombia. That time, Medellin was the city chosen to vibrate with the master of hard rock. Okay, 6 years later, the jungle was the liberated again in Bogota, the night of October 11, 2022 went down in history as the return to Guns N' Roses to Bogota. Okay?
Okay, well, I didn't know that fact, but thank you so much, Hector, because first, I didn't know that they had visited here because of a concert, but I don't know if they had visited Bogota, actually, because
Yes. Okay.
sometimes they choose some other countries. But it's quite interesting with some bands, some rock bands decide to be here in Bogota because it's not something common and not even nowadays.
Excuse me, I don't see you. I have technical problems. Come on here, okay?
Okay, don't worry, don't worry. I get you. So, returning the album, retaking the information regarding the album. The first track we have is Right Next Door to Health. Okay, this song is really famous because it's a song about his neighbor. We don't have information about the whole song is about his neighbor, but let's say that more or less the 70% of the song is about his neighbor. And his neighbor is called Gabriela Cantor. Basically, Gabriela Cantor uh, accused Axel Rose about clapping her in the head with an empty wine bottle. So, for that reason, Axel was arrested. However, Axel could demonstrate that he was innocent. So, when Axel out of the jail or in the place he was, he decided to compose this song. So, Right Next Door to Health is a song that is dedicated to Gabriela Cantor. Gabriela Cantor is the name that receives his neighbor, the one who accused him about clapping her in the head with an empty wine bottle.
So I would like to say something about Gabriela Cantor and that she was crazy. We can say that because imagine she had a great imagination because for the reason he was arrested at Rose, and we can say that for the reason he was a controversial figure because he had a lot of problems. And I don't know how many times he was arrested. So that's why I could say that he was a controversial figure. So now we are going to continue with Dust and Bones. And it is important to know, and I don't know if Ruben knows the answer to that. Uh, how many integrants were in the band apart from that? Do you know how many integrants?
Well, actually, I don't. I know that there is a large list about the
Yes.
members in total, but do you know the quantity in
Yes,
total?
there are a lot of people because we can say that the original integrants nowadays is few because we have Atzaros and Slash, but the rest of them we don't know what happened. So they were Canceros were constantly changing the integrants. So for that reason, we can say that there were a lot of, and we have Matt Sorum. Matt Sorum was one of the drummers that entered to the band, and he was an important part of the process of the creative process of this song. So when they were creating that song, at the moment he entered to the band, Matt Sorum, He was thinking that was something missing, that something no doesn't sound good. So for the reason he was trying to create the song, but with the help of Slash, Dove, and Easy. And they modified the sounds and also created new sounds. And that they get wave to the sound Guns N' Roses. What is the sound Guns N' Roses? We can say that is a sound that allowed listeners, as you and me, to identify the bands as the ones playing the song. So it wants to say, for example, you are listening that song and that is Cousin Rose, because we can identify the sounds. Easy slash and Dove created. So that was a kind of identity. That song allowed them to create their identity as Guns N' Roses. So, what is the meaning of this song? Do you know? Ron? What is the meaning of no? You have
about about Dust
what
and
is the
Bones.
meaning? What does it mean that song?
Well, basically, I have some idea, but if you could clarify some
Mhm.
information for me, I will be happy to hear you, of course.
Okay, so we can say that the lyrics suggest that sometimes people can be too easy or too cold, but at the end of the day, we are just dust and bones. So we are nothing.
Oh,
You
okay,
can,
okay,
okay, you
that's
are
that's
be proud
interesting.
of you. Maybe you are good at many things, but at the end of the day, at the end of the year, at the end of the month, you are nothing because you are dust and bones. So that is the
Well,
meaning of that song.
well, it's like a sort of symbolism about death because
Mhm.
it's like the way in which we are going to finish. It doesn't matter if
Exactly.
you had money, if you had many different things, if you had won many different prizes or those kind of things. At the end of your life, you are going to become dust and bones. So
Exactly. That is an
it's really
interesting.
interesting. Okay, I didn't know that, but it's really interesting, of course.
Mhm. Of course, it's a
Okay,
good song.
let's continue to the next one. Of course, first we are going to play that, and then we are going to talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, uh, this song, "Live and Let Die," was a really hard song for the band because in that time there were another bands that they were having like their top notch, the highest ones. So it was like a sort of competition, not like a I am better than you. No, not only not like that. It was more related to basically they always were trying to develop their original sound. However, when in the merc there are a lot many different sounds. It's like you can find something different. So the Axl Rose mainly was the one who was struggling with the sound because they were thinking that they sound like Metallica. So basically Slash, or in an interview, Slash said that Axel was working hard on the nonsense about that song because he wanted to find the perfection in that sound, in that song, because he was avoiding to sound like Metallica. Because of course they know each other, but every band is known because they have an original sound. As Julie said mentioned before, it's like, for example, if you are walking around the street and somebody is listening to the radio and they are playing a sound, you can identify, that's from that singer. No, that's from that band. I think that was the thing that Axel Rose and his band was trying to get in every song, of course. However, when they out that song, they didn't believe that they were good enough. I mean, Live and Let Die was one of the most reproduced, the most played song in this album. However, they couldn't believe that because they were comparing themselves with Metallica, the Metallica band. Did you know that, Lisette?
No, I don't have any idea about that, but it was really interesting to know that.
Yes, so it's like sometimes you are comparing your work, what you do, with another person, and you think this is not original, this is trash. But there will be some other people who will believe in your capacity and what you are doing, of course.
Of course, that is really interesting to know that because we can make a comparison with our daily life. We are
Yes,
making comparisons with other people, thinking that we are not good at something.
yes, I get you. You got a point, of course.
Of course. So don't cry. That is a really good song, and I'm happy to say that because it was the first song I I heard about Guns N' Roses, and it has a a good story behind. Do you know what is the story, Ruben?
Actually, I don't. I thought that it was just a like a sad song about yes, someone who had his heart broken, but basically that is everything that I know.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what is the story about. So we have Don't Cry, and it's a story of love that many people suffer for love, and is a kind of that suffering. So we have that is at the top 10 power ballad, and it is that song is has two volumes and belongs to the illusion version, the first one. So what is the idea of this song? It was written by Axel and Izzy, but the problem was that they were or that they fell in love with the same girl. So that was the problem that they had, that they were fall in love for the singer. So the story is about in Los Angeles in after being in a bar. So Atal Rose was outside that bar, and he was looking to that woman with Izzy. So he was, what happened? Why that woman is going easy? So he asked to her to make a decision. What do you believe? What was the decision for her of her?
Hmm.
Easy or Axel?
Uh, I don't know. It's first of all, it's really difficult when you gotta wait. I mean, I believe they were like best friends because they work together. So it's like you realize that your best friend is falling in love with the same person that you is like is something harmful, but also is because of the matter or the point that is your best friend, you know? So you don't know
Mm-hmm.
what to do. You don't know how to react. You don't know if you wanna fight or if you just tell to your friend that hey man, I'm going to tell you something, please. Be with her. I'm not going to be with her. It's like a difficult situation, you
Yes.
know?
Uh-huh. Yes. But it was a difficult situation for her because she couldn't make a decision. So Axel was crying. Imagine that. Axel was crying for her. And the words, the iconic words that she said was, "Don't cry, baby." And that was the title for this song.
Oh,
So instead of having a fighting for love, they write a song. Axel and Izzy were together for writing a song. So it was a faster song. They it was a night. They were Axel told him to write a song because he had a lyrics and Easy was having a rhythm. So they joined together and created that beautiful song. And instead of at the beginning, the title of the song was "Don't Cry Tonight," but they preferred to say it, "Don't Cry," and that was the inspiration of that song.
Oh,
That words for for this girl, "Don't Cry, Baby."
but Lisa, do you have any idea if they argue, if they discuss about that problem, or they just decided to write that song and that's it?
Axel was walking around the house of Izzy with the intention of having a fighting. But
Oh,
when he entered to the house, they talk about that, and instead of fighting, they had the inspiration of creating a song.
oh, that's interesting. It's like where you have different intentions, but then you do something different. It's your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Let's write a song. Okay, I didn't know that. Of course, I was. It was just like a Axel was a heartbroken person, and then he decided to write that song. That was something that I was thinking about, but
Yes, but
I wasn't
something
closer.
important to mention of this is that in the video clip, we can notice a sign, an advertisement that said, "Where is Easy?" That is why Easy was retired of the band. He
Mm.
doesn't appear, or he didn't appear in that video clip.
Ah, okay, but is he still in the band? Isn't he?
No, Easy.
He's
That is the
retired.
founder of the song. He's retired in the band.
Oh, but it's because of this fact, because of the problem they had
No,
with
he
this
had
girl, or
no.
many
He
other
has
problems.
moments that he was retired, and after he come back, and it was a kind of moments that was retired, and then come at the bank. But nowadays, he doesn't belong to the bank.
Ah, okay. So basically, it's like a matter of many different situations. Like, how do you feel,
Yes.
or how do you feel with the band? How is your relationship with the current members of the band, and so on. Yeah.
And so
Oh,
exactly.
okay, I get you. So let's move to the next song. Okay, Perfect Crime. This song was written by Axel Rose and was expected to be out in Halloween. Perfect Crime is known as the shortest song in the Use Your Illusion album because it just lasts 2 minutes and 23 seconds. Did you know that, Lisette?
No, I don't have any idea about that.
Perfect Crime is the shortest song in the album. And as I mentioned before, it was expected to be out on Halloween. So it was out on Halloween 1986. So um, the song was well received, and for that reason, they opened the Red Hot Chili Peppers at Ucla's Ackerman Hall. So, as you can see, they had many different relationships, good relationships, bad relationships, but something that we can mention in that time by 1986, more or less, by the 90s, they had a good relationship with Red Hot Chili Peppers, of course.
Okay, so we have you ain't the first, and that is a really curious situation because they were really drunk when they recorded that song. Do you know that, Ruben?
Well, I know they had many problems with drugs and alcohol, but I was expecting that was something that happened in some cases and not always.
No, but at that moment, that situation interfered with the professional. moments. So they were really drunk. They in that moment. So we can say that, for example, Matt Sorum said in an interview that he was really drunk, that he was talking another instrument instead of the drummer. So it was a really crazy situation. Also, the producer make think said that he was feeling that he was a baby sister instead of a producer. So it was because they were like a teenager instead of being professional in that situation. But we can say that he had a good song. So for the reason is a really crazy situation, because instead of being uh, in a good manner, they were drunk. They were after a bar, after drinking alcohol.
Okay, okay, I get you. So it's like those friends that decided to go to a party, they drunk, but in this case with a beat band, and it was something that they were doing often, right?
Yes, they were doing often drinking, having problems. So that was a bad situation. So because that interfered in the professional lives.
Okay.
So yes, but they were drunk. They were like, let's make a song after a party. So
Oh,
for
okay,
that
I
reason,
get.
it's crazy. It's a situation that is not professional, in my
Yes, is
opinion.
what a crazy situation. Of course, yes.
Mhm.
I couldn't agree with you more. Okay, a bad obsession. This song is one of the iconic ones, but not because of the rhythm itself, because of the message that we can find on this song, of course. So, Bad Obsession was a track written by Izzy Stradlin. Yes, Izzy Stradlin was the one who had the main idea. I would like to write this song. Song is going to have this and that. And this song, of course, is replete with a slash aggressive slide guitar work. Slash, I could say it. I don't know if Lisette agrees, if you agree with me, but I can say that Slash is one of the best guitarists around the world.
Yes, in my case, in my opinion, I can say that he's really, really good at playing the guitar. For the reason, singers like Michael Jackson were trying to make songs with him.
Yes, that's true. And also because of his solos. Every time that he uh, played a solo, he was like giving everything. He was focused on doing that in the best way, so that was worthy to listen. And that was one of the best part of the song. And of course, the part that you could listen was played by Slash, so it's really interesting. And in this song, Axel confesses the bad relationship he had with his mother, so it's something uh, bigger than some other situations that we can find in the album, of course. So, did you know that he said that in this song, Axel confessed his bad relationship with his mother?
No, I didn't know that. It's really interesting to know.
Yes, it's really interesting to realize how many different singers use the music to to let it out, to talk about a bad moment, a bad time. However, in that time when they wrote Bad Obsession in 1991, Slash was struggling with heroin. So we can see how the drugs and the alcohol and these addictions were like having some obstacles in the path for them since the beginning. And I don't know how it would be nowadays, but it's quite difficult when you are struggling with drugs and alcohol and you have to try to handle them in the path.
Okay, so we have Double Talking Jeff. So that song is really horrible because it's inspired by a real case in a real murder. So we have a part of the song that says the following, and you can find that it's really interesting. This said, found a head and an arm, this is an arm, in the garbage can. So
Wow.
what happened in that part? In I'm going to explain you. They were, Guns N' Roses were in the studio. They were recording a song and they found a horrible situation behind the studio. The police found a head and an arm in the garbage can behind the studio. So that was a horrible situation, and we can say that is a murder, and especially because was in the studio of Guns N' Roses. So do you know that? Do you imagine that situation, Ruben? That is difficult to find a head and an arm inside a
L-
garbage.
I couldn't imagine that. It's like a traumatic situation. You don't know how to face that. You don't know how to manage that. And then
Mhm.
many people could decide to go to therapy, but they decided
Mhm.
to write a song.
Makes exactly. So that
So
is a strange situation because they decided to write a song instead of being in therapy or to talk with a psychologist. So that's why
yeah.
it's a really manner to express those emotions, those situations inside a song. So that is really interesting.
Yeah, so okay, guys, my dears major learners, it was a pleasure to be here with you. It was really enjoyable. Uh, Sorry because of the noisy
Sound
background. Yeah, it was really nice to be here with you. As I could tell you from the beginning, uh, the Use Your Illusion album is really big. They have two editions, two parts of this album. So basically, we try to talk about the most important ones, and it was enjoyable for me. It was really um, funny to discuss these songs here with Lisette, with Hector. Thank you so much for being here. Also, if Hector would likes to do that, we can switch to Spanish to interact, to summarize a little bit if you want to.
Okay, okay, okay. No, thank you so much. This rally has been a very interesting account of the history of this band that marked an era. To close, I want to quote a reference that Infobay makes about this band, okay? Um, I I learned with 150 million records sold and members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Los Angeles but market generation with items that are still sung today by millions for followers around the world. As proof of this, the Not in This Lifetime tour with about together most of this classical lineup and toured the world between 2016 and 2019, became the third most profitable in music history. It's has been a real pleasure listening to Lisette and Ruben, and we thank all of you for your company. Just as we thank an Uniminuto and the Faculty of Education, we will see you in upcoming Parlare and Narratorio programs. See you soon. Thank you so much. Very, 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 very happy for this program and your company. Okay?
Thank you so much, Hector.
Okay, thank you
Thank you
so
so much,
much.
Lisette. Thanks everyone for watching us, and see you in the next time with our Portuguese edition.
Portuguese
Okay.
edition.
Okay, yes. In Portuguese edition, it's very interesting the next program. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
Esta es Uniminuto Radio, HJKU, en Bogotá en los 14:30 AM y en Colombia y el mundo a través de uniminutoradio.com.co. También en Facebook, Twitter e Instagram a través de @Uniminuto Radio. La radio universitaria está aquí.